What's happening, fam? L.A.R movement still moving. Subscriber died trying. You see the thumbnail. Single with student loan debt. So I was watching this Netflix special on, debts, gambling, stuff like that, and how the cost of college, has risen, and the loans have risen, and because of that, the debt has risen. And then you have people who, in some ways, they defer their loans and they wind up paying absolutely nothing on them because you defer them and then you try to consolidate them, and then you owed 80 and you deferred them for a year and you didn't pay it 110 years, but you still owe, 65, that type of thing, and how it intrudes in life. And I started thinking about it where, part of the dating and marriage conversation, student loan debt comes into play because there's so many people who, quote unquote, have an education. They went to school, they got a degree, they got an education. And that education is holding people back. But the best part about this is the trick bag that you're put into by companies, because basically, if you stay single, not only can you can't afford rent, you surely can't afford a mortgage. Well, you could afford a mortgage, but because of your student loans student loans have been added to mortgage calculations, you probably can't afford the loan and the mortgage. So you probably get denied or get something uber small. So you might be stuck paying overpriced prices for an apartment. So this is the funny thing about this whole scenario is, how many people are single doing this? What if you're single and you're out here trying to do your best in life, and you come to terms with the idea that, what am I really bringing to the table with these student loans? Because I'm single with student loans and it's getting in the way of everything that I'm doing in life. So now, people talk about the birth rate dropping just like I do. And maybe, just maybe, part of that birth rate dropping has to do not just with the cost of living increases, but with student loans. You can't afford to have kids because you owe too much money. So now you got to put two and two together. This is why people got the side hustles and the Ubers and, the Lyfts and the job and the second job, you know what I mean? And multiple jobs, because the multiple debts you got. And what was interesting about it is, because they were talking about Joe Biden with the forgiveness, student loan forgiveness. I'm thinking to myself, it'll forgive $50,000, but then, how far back does this go? Because the population of people who will be like, well, I never got a chance to defer, get the government to help me pay off my loans. I'm still in this thing. Or what if I didn't need the government and you giving this person $50,000 who's ever graduated from this particular point to that particular point? What if I pay my stuff off? Can I get that money? Since you forgave it, can I pay mine and, can I get that money back now? Which is probably absolutely not, right? So you add that to the equation where we're dealing in a society, basically, where that affects dating, that affects where you go, that affects what you can do, that affects who you go out with, that affects who you possibly settle down with, that affects who you possibly may or may not marry. And couple that with the fact that a lot of people aren't, the interpersonal skills aren't there, but at the same time, everybody has deal breakers, and some of these deal breakers are just ridiculous. Student loans is definitely a deal breaker for guys, because you don't want to take on somebody with their debt. And the other reason I'm talking about this is because I could be putting something onto this. So, but we've talked about this before, but the high value man thing, a guy who's making, 100,000 or more, it might be because he needs to make two incomes, and the woman needs him to make two incomes so she can afford to pay her student loans off. You know what I'm saying? So if he can handle all of the big stuff, she can finally catch up on her student loans, because women in general go are in colleges more than men. So they're more inclined to have the debt than guys. You got guys who might, go to the military, go to a trade school. Some might just, go to college, but they may make the most of that degree or profession, so they may have a easier way of paying down those debts. That's part of the STEM thing. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So if the humanities and the arts don't necessarily pay well when you fresh out of college. So it's like single with student loan debt is definitely a huge problem, because at the end of the day, and then taking into consideration the women who want to have kids and don't want to work, but the ones who went to school, who's going to pay their student loans if they want to be single, and not single, but be married and have kids and stay home and work? So that means he's got to take on your loans too. So a lot of times the guys are looking at it like, it's probably easier to be in a casual relationship because of the stress of your student loans. You might have the character not try to bring somebody into that situation to drag them down, or at the same time, you might be one of those people who are like, this is what I want, and you're trying to get there with guys who like, look, I can commit to you, but I can't commit to your debts like that. So that's an issue. Like, share, subscribe, or die trying. Peace.